Hello guys, welcome to Redditor's Revenge. Here we post amazing revenge stories daily. And if you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with us. Moving to our today's first story, about how OP saved lots of girls from the creep in her class, and got him punished by his family as well as principal in front of the whole school. Now story. This story happened when I was in high school. I went to a smallish high school, with around 950 students ranging from the 9th to 12th grade. With so many students in one place, I had quite a few good friends that I talked to, but only a handful that I hung out with and talked with daily. Now there was a certain person in our social group, let's call him Bailey. Bailey was a social outcast by many people's standards, not by bullying or hazing or mistreatment from the other students. It's just that no one liked him because he was an asshole all the time. He was always playing the victim when he was rejected by girls. He threatened to ruin the lives of said girls who did reject him. He harassed girls online and touched them in uncomfortable places in person after being told to stop. He begged for money off of people. He was a sexist and racist person to all races and ethnicities. He put himself into other people's conversations and generally wasn't a very nice person to hang around. I have a really good friend, let's call her Anna. Anna has been my best friend ever since I can remember, and she's a wonderful, sweet, and generous person to everyone. One day before we got out for winter break, Anna came up to me in the hallway before the end of school, bawling her eyes out. I asked her to tell me what was wrong, and she said that Bailey had asked her out before she went to her class over text. But when she declined after explaining that she already had a boyfriend, all hell broke loose. He called her an N-word slut. He said she should kill herself because of how fat she was. He said no one loved her because she was a mixture of the two worst races, and said that no one would want her because she's a C-word, and said she has a stinky woohoo area. Anna had some insecurities about herself, and Bailey hit every single one of them point blank. I was ducking, seething with rage while reading her texts, and I was completely appalled and disgusted at his behavior. I told her to dry her eyes and send me screenshots of the conversation he had with her. When she asked what I was going to do with them, I simply told her that I had enough of him harassing girls and I was going to do something about it. Now I was not going to confront him directly, not with how angry I was at the moment. Instead, I decided to rally the troops and get ready for the bloodbath. I was going to massacre what was left of his entire high school career, his entire life. Now Bailey had done this to girls before, and luckily I had those girls' numbers saved on my phone because they're my friends, and we would send each other memes. So I made a group chat and asked everyone to send any type of rude, racist, sexist, or failed attempt to be asked out screenshot over any type of social media that Bailey had sent to them. Over the next 15 minutes, my phone was blaring with text notifications. There were screenshots of Snapchat stories, Facebook comments, and text messages. All in all, I had around 60 photos of sexist, racist, failed duck pics, or a whole comments or rants that he made to 15 females, including myself. Over winter break, I composed all of those screenshots into a nice little PowerPoint and saved it on my flash drive on my laptop. I spoke with our principal and I asked him if I could show him something relevant to the safety of the student body during his free break at lunch. He told me that he had no problem with it and a time was set. When it finally comes down for my meeting with the principal, I have a small parade of girls behind me who wanted to come testify, anxiously holding onto each other's hands. We were invited into the principal's private conference room as he sets up his laptop and plugs my flash drive in to connect it to the projector. The principal called in some teachers to be witnesses and called Bailey down to the conference room to take a seat and to try to defend himself if the allegations weren't true. The principal clicks the remote to play my presentation and it slowly begins to load up. The first slide comes up and the room goes deathly silent besides a few gasps of shock. As the slides continue, I notice Bailey is squirming around in his seat, uncomfortable, and the people in the room are getting more agitated and angry. Halfway through the slides, Bailey jumps to his feet and throws his arms in front of the projector screen to censor out a particular image that he had sent to a girl, even though she had blurted it out. He tried to explain that he was joking with the comments about race and being a guy or girl, and that these girls were framing him for something he didn't do. He pointed to me and said that I was the ringleader of this operation, and that I should be the one who was being thrown on the spot, not him. The entire room was tense, and the principal turned on the lights with his hands on his hips and a giant sigh. The principal turns to me and tells me to thank him for bringing this to his attention, and he asks if he could take the flash drive and use it for the investigations and alleged rumors that were going on about Bailey. I gave it to him and he thanked me again before he left with Bailey and the teachers in tow. Since I copied the original slideshow to my cat flash drive, I sent the PowerPoint to not only mutual friends at the school but also his mom and dad through Facebook. All of them were not only disgusted by his comments, but his family was extremely distraught, but thankful I brought this up to their attention. A few days later, the entire school was summoned to the gym for an announcement. Bailey was there with his parents on either side of him and his frail grandmother on the small stage we have set up for concerts and band productions. The slideshow is playing on repeat on a projector in the background for everyone to see. The principal said a few words about how harassment, in any shape, form, or fashion would not be tolerated, and neither would sexism or any form of racist behavior or comments. The principal made Bailey apologize publicly to the school about his behavior and how he would never do it again. His parents were embarrassed, but they also apologized to the school and to the young ladies that he had harassed. His grandmother did not let him off so easily. She slapped his knee with her cane hard and started yelling at him for being so disgusting and such a disappointment to her and the rest of the family. Bailey started to cry on the stage as his mother and father tried to calm down his grandmother. Once everything calmed down, they were escorted off the property. He was suspended for the rest of the year for verbal harassment and racist comments. Later on, in the same year, I found out that he had tried to rob a grocery store and was now facing trial for battery, assault with a deadly weapon, and armed robbery. My friends and I all graduated happily, and I never saw Bailey again. Sorry, but I forgot to mention this in my story. That's my bad. The parents, mainly the grandma, wanted it to be known that there are consequences for their actions, and since the grandma was head of the household, she called the principal and requested public shaming. The principal then requested it from the administrative office, and it went along the chain of command. As long as the parents, grandma, was okay with it, then it was a done deal. Now, here is the end of our today's first story. I hope you enjoyed it. And in my opinion, Bailey's grandma did absolutely right by teaching him a lesson for his stupid and unjustifiable actions. Guys, let me know your opinion about Bailey's grandma in the comments section. So before moving to the next story, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories. Now, moving to our second story, in which OP teaches a hard lesson to two fitness bullies who always body shame others and put them down. So Opus uses social media against them to get them fired from their careers. Now story. On New Year's Day of 2018, I resolved to get in shape. I was never overweight, but growing up in Russia and spending my very early adulthood there, I smoked like a chimney and my cardio was garbage. Going to college in America didn't help matters because I started drinking to go along with my smoking. I decided to start going to spin class. I work at a marketing firm and chose a particular spin class because I received a free year-long membership as a holiday office party present that year. It was a generous gift because it was a trendy, pricey boutique spin studio. I've ridden bikes my whole life, so I thought, how hard can it be to ride a bike that doesn't go anywhere? But my first day in class was a rude awakening. It was clear that the class that I was attending, an early morning class for people to attend before work, was an advanced one where a majority seemed to already be part of the culture, and very fit. It was obvious I couldn't keep up. The instructor was nice and told me that since I'm new, it's a good idea for me to ride up front so that I can watch him and copy what he does more accurately, or he can easily see what I'm doing and offer alternatives if I'm not doing things right. I thought, what a great guy, and what a great class. There were these two other students in the class, though, who gradually made my morning spin classes suck. Valerie was very fit. She looked like a model and worked hard to look as good as she did. Boris was her male equivalent. They were both about my age, maybe a few years older, but it was clear they were far more fit than me. They were very invested in that particular gym's culture, in that they were always decked out in the store brand athletic wear. I'm not going to lie, they looked good wearing it. They weren't a couple, but it was obvious that Boris had a thing for Valerie, and Valerie was aware of it and did not reciprocate. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't my business. That thing about both of them being far more fit than me, they didn't let me forget it. For some reason, they seemed to take offense to the fact that I was riding up front. I can see why. The front two rows were filled with the very strongest, fittest people. The let's take a selfie sort of gym people, except these seemed fit. At the same time, all the other super hot girls and guys were very nice to me and didn't seem to care that I rode up front, whereas Valerie and Boris would always shoot these sideward, disgusted glances at me, or smirk. I'm not a confrontational person, so I wouldn't do the thing most would do in that situation, such as say, "The duck is your problem," which I always got to class super early to dress up and adjust my bike. The gym has a policy of first come, first serve when it comes to choosing one of the 30 bikes in the studio. I noticed a lot of other people show up early who were also clearly less fit than the stars that occupied the first couple of rows, but they seemed to self-segregate into the very back. I was still new as it was my first couple of weeks, so I sat up front because I was still finding my rhythm. I'd sit right up front where the instructor told me so that I could watch him, and he could watch me. Every time he would come in, he would greet me enthusiastically and praise me for my commitment to fitness. It was little wonder his class was so popular. Everyone held him in high regard. Sometimes in class, he would shout encouragements to the class as a whole, but also give personal shout-outs to certain students. Despite the darkness of the room, when the instructor said, "Great job there, OP. You're killing it," I noticed both Boris and Valerie give each other a look and shake their heads, laughing. I never knew for sure why Valerie hated me, but I think it might be because we were both Russian and no one else who went to that early class seemed to be, and she wanted to be the only East Euro girl. Who knows? As for Boris, he followed Valerie because he wanted to get in her pants. Boris and Valerie usually showed up right when class was starting and the whole place was packed, and yet they were so entitled that there were always two bikes up front, right next to each other reserved for them. Despite the crowd, at 5:30 a.m. there were still a couple of empty bikes in the middle or back, but that wasn't good enough for them. I'd be right in the front row, too. I got there early, and it was my right to sit wherever I please. And yet, despite them showing up at the last second, they shake their heads at me like I'm the one who's got a lot of nerve. Well, this goes on day after day for a whole month, and even though I'm no longer new and I'm starting to get more fit and don't really need the instructor so much just to survive the hour on the bike, I still sit right up front. I thought maybe the particular bike that I was selecting had some significance to Valerie or Boris, and that's why they copped with such an attitude all the time. I always rode on the same bike. By this time, I was a bit chummy with a lot of the other women and knew their names, and we'd hug in the morning. I thought I should make peace with Valerie, if not Boris, who always sort of gave me an "I hate you because Valerie hates you, but if there was no Valerie I'd go out with you" vibe. So, when I saw Valerie that morning, as usual she showed up right when the class started and sat next to me. I politely asked, "Was this your bike before and you were used to it? We can trade if you like." She rolls her eyes at me and gives Boris a look, and like a donkey he smirks too. She says, "You should sit in the back. We're motivating people up here and you're hogging the mirror space." I'm thinking, what is this, high school? What the actual duck? You've got to be 30 ducking years old and you're acting like this. And seriously, you may be fitter than me, but I'm just as tall and don't weigh any more than you do or take up any more space in the mirror, and it wouldn't matter even if I did. We're adults, or at least I am. Sigh, that's what I wish I said. Instead, I just put my head down and went on with my class. Eventually, I got so familiar with the other students because the same regulars would come to class every day that we all became social media friends. I even became social media friends with the instructor. I don't post much on social media. I don't show where I work or every single thing I do or my random brain farts. I just post the occasional photo. On one of these rare photos, where I was admittedly begging for approval because I was proud of developing abs, the spin instructor himself commented how proud he was of me. A lot of people from spin class also said nice things. I was friends neither with Valerie nor Boris on social media, but they both liked the instructor's comment on my photo, and my guess is it's because they both liked to kiss his ass. They certainly never showed me any kindness in class, unlike everyone else who was supportive of me. I clicked on their names, and my suspicions were confirmed. Both of them practically lived on social media and took endless selfies, showed off their bodies, and were humble and bragged nonstop. They also made no secret of who their employers were. Valerie tried to claim she was a model even though it was clear her only real job was being a sales rep for a beauty brand. Valerie was only a model in the take a picture of yourself using your iPhone in front of the bathroom mirror sense. So Valerie, I guess that makes me a model too. These two were such idiots that they'd post dumb things on each other's walls. It didn't seem like they had lives other than to talk trash against people. I saw that they had one exchange where they were talking about me. How do I know? Because they said my name and said that I was ugly and a wannabe and skinny fat and all this other horrible shit. They also talked a lot about other people in the class and said horrible things and named names. It doesn't seem like they were friendly with the other people, even the very fit people who in some cases were even fitter. In terms of the class, they were social media friends with the instructor and some of the other teachers on the schedule, and with each other, but not with anyone else. Anyway, I confirmed my suspicion that Boris was low-key thirsty. After the spin instructor made a nice comment on my picture and Boris saw that I existed online, he sent me a private message asking me to go for coffee sometime. I ignored the message, which is just as well because the next time in class he ignored me and just followed Valerie's normal smirk and push routine. I don't like to start drama, but I don't like being bullied and trashed, either. I screen captured and saved a lot of both Valerie's and Boris' comments where they trashed at least a dozen people in our class, and then made a dummy Facebook account. I fired off every screen capture to the owner of the studio. Not just the manager of that particular branch, but the owner of the whole company in addition to the branch manager. I let them know that these two cretins were trashing many people in the morning class and creating a hostile, unwelcoming environment. I was also nice enough to send the appropriate screen captures where Boris and Valerie named specific people in the class to those actual people, if their accounts weren't set to where only friends could message them or post on their feeds. In less than a week, Boris and Valerie were gone. Both had their memberships revoked and were banned from every one of the brand's studios. Several of the people that Valerie insulted were sufficiently offended that they sent emails to Valerie's employer about what a hateful, body-shaming person she was and how such a person should not be any kind of brand ambassador. From what the other girls in the studio tell me, Valerie got fired from her job. Don't worry, Valerie, you still have your modeling career of taking selfies in your panties next to your toilet in your apartment. I had the pleasure of seeing some of the fewer patients, ripped buff dudes in class who didn't find it amusing that Boris was telling Valerie on Facebook that he could kick anyone's ass in class, openly offering to let him test his theory, anytime, anywhere. Unfortunately, Boris was too occupied up front getting his membership canceled, and being refunded and being told to never come back. Pleased to make such arrangements. See ya, a hole. Boris had a wannabe, unlicensed personal training business that he talked about on Facebook, and several of the men in the class who had legit training certificates shut him down with quickness. There's always Starbucks. Maybe I'll go for coffee sometime and buy it from you, Borisista. As for me, I still show up early, but I usually find my comfort zone in row 2 now, or even further back. There are always new students, and I like for them to sit right up front so that they feel welcome. That's what it means to be in a fitness community. Everyone's welcome. This isn't some kind of high school cafeteria you can't sit with us bullshit. I loved the class so much that I kept going into 2019 as a paying member, even after my free year was finished. In 18 months I've posted 3 pictures related to the spin class. That 4-pack is coming in nicely, lol, from certain lighting angles, anyway. Goals, sigh, haven't smoked in ages, still drink like a fish. It's Russian in me, I think. I honestly hope Boris and Valerie grew up. I low-key hope they marry because they deserve each other, though I also hope they don't breed. After all, that much narcissism from 2 parents would result in a kid with lots of issues. Now, here is the end of our second story. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you had any stories about your experience with such gym rat, who tried to put others down, or you can also share your opinion about the story in the comments section. So before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories.